So, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for joining the tour this morning. I hope I didn't tire you. You had a glass of water or a glass of wine to sort of put yourself together and have a break. We're delighted today to have two speakers with us. Andreas and Mavroyiannis. I'm not going to try and introduce them. You know them. They're so well known. Andreas Mavroyiannis, ex-negotiator, and Fikri Toros, a ZFN MP, that have been very active with the Cyprus problem and the Cyprus issue for many, many years. And we are going to try and debate today whether there are any the prospects of the Cyprus issue, if there are any prospects of the Cyprus issue. And I would ask our speakers to speak short, and then please receive questions from the audience. All right? Okay, I give the floor to you. You decide who wants to speak first.
Thank you, Rita. Good morning, everybody. And allow me to thank Rita and all of you, actually, for giving me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to talk about the Cyprus problem. Although a lot of people get slightly bored with it and they think I tend to be repetitive, I try to keep as dynamic as possible. As you know, after a very long-standing impasse, in fact, ongoing impasse, since the series of Swiss conferences we had in 2017, the United Nations has taken a new initiative, and we welcome this initiative wholeheartedly. And I'm not just speaking on behalf of the Republican Turkish Party, but a good majority of the Pacific community. The new initiative, as the Secretary General repeatedly said before he took this initiative, is different. It's going to be completely different. It's going to be dealt within a sense of urgency, and it's going to be a result-oriented process. So this has obviously meant that a new methodology has been implemented, and the appointment of the private envoy, as Ersin prefers to call her, is the first phase of this initiative. At least that's what I would like to believe. I tend to look at the prospects of a new process, hopefully a result-oriented one. I tend to look at it from a more international perspective. I sincerely believe, and I'm sure Andreas will agree with me, that the two community leaderships have negotiated almost everything that is entailed to the issue. And by the Crown Montana conference in 2017, quite a serious number of convergences were reached, to such an extent that the Secretary General managed to summarize the divergences on half a page, as you all know. So there isn't all that much else, in my opinion, to negotiate. One must not expect full agreement on all the issues. There's no such peace process in history. Parties get similar wants and expectations, but by no means all. So what the United Nations was considering in this new initiative, that is promised to be a different one, is to be ready to take the role of an arbitrator, maybe, if all goes well and the negotiations resume. One must bear in mind that in the last 2 to 3 years, there has been a very dynamic region in the European continent, as well as in the Eastern Mediterranean, if not the Middle East as a whole. And during these dynamic incidences, the European continent, obviously the European Union as the administrator of the continent, has taken steps to establish new security mechanisms. And this coincided with the very well-known strategy for energy. The sanctions levied upon Russia as a result of Russia's invasion to Ukraine has obviously necessitated looking into alternative sources of energy. The renewable energy projects, the policies, the emission-free targets set by the European Union has necessitated interconnectivity amongst the neighbour countries. Turkey's relations vis-à-vis the European Union, as well as her transatlantic relations, particularly with the situation in Ukraine and recently Israel, Turkey's position within these contexts have necessitated the resumption of dialogue, if not improvement of relations. And both parties consider this very, very valid and very much of importance, of significant importance today. The Eastern Mediterranean has been seriously disturbed by the incidences. Obviously, with the Ukraine war, Russia has been attempting to increase her presence in the Eastern Mediterranean in order to counterbalance the Western allies, as you all know. There has been various attempts to establish a regional network for gas as well as electricity interconnection. Turkey and Greece are determined to stick to this Athens Declaration signed on the 7th of December last. So loads of international, if not geopolitical developments that have been taking place, which necessitate rapprochement amongst all these countries. Progress on whether it's Turkish EU or Turkish transatlantic or Turkish Greek or Eastern Mediterranean, all of these issues, not to mention new security mechanisms in Europe and also the migration issues, the regional problems, etc. All of these have got two outstanding issues which are being detrimental to progress. And one of them is certainly the Cyprus issue, and the other one is the domestic issues in Turkey, such as rule of law, democratization, etc., which you're all very familiar with. As far as we are concerned in Cyprus, we, the settlement supporters, federal solution supporters on either side of the divide, we must exploit this new initiative taken by the United Nations. We must consider this as a very, very important and vital responsibility, mindful of the fact that the consequences of the continued impasse, the status quo, is incredibly serious and very, very damaging to the Cypriot nation altogether, I dare say. It's more visible in the north, you may think so, but I do believe that it's a serious likelihood that needs to be taken into consideration here as well. The Cyprus issue has got to be resolved in full line with the relevant Security Council resolutions. Any argument contrary to that simply means the continuation of the status quo, the deepening of the division and the deepening of the problem itself, and the further drifting apart of Cypriot communities. There is no argument, so I'm not even going to say one word or one comment about the Turkish position today. It is simply unrealistic, it is unacceptable, and it will only serve to the continuation and the deepening of the status quo, which is certainly not static. Now, there are many reasons behind the failure of the Annan Plan and the Swiss process 7 years ago. I'm not going to go into those either. Every single party has a share of responsibility, but I genuinely believe it's very important for the United Nations to change the modalities, to review the modalities, to make sure this time there is no chance for failure, as simple as that. And this necessitates, very similar to what we witnessed at the end of the Balkan issues about 30 years ago, very similar to other peace processes that have proven to be successful. They have to be time-bound and result-oriented. Okay? People, parties must not be allowed to go back to negotiations that they reach to an agreement over. They must simply just move on, get a little bit of help, arbitration or whatever you like to call it, and just do a deal straight away. So we must take this opportunity as Cypriots. Turkey must take it. The European Union has offered a hand to resume accession talks with Turkey, as you all know. We are very encouraged by that. I hope and trust that the Turkish leadership will take this opportunity as well. And if we don't reach to a favorable outcome, the United Nations has made it very clear that they're not going to enter into a no-end process again. So it's just going to be a serious consequence for the Cypriot communities, and it's just going to be a nightmare. Cyprus will remain troubled. Cypriot generations will continue emigrating from Cyprus, and Cyprus will change its identity. So I sincerely hope and stand ready and committed in the party to do whatever we can to make sure this process proves to be a successful one. All parties need to be motivated. Remember, the status quo has helped nationalists on the island as well as in the region. And nationalists are detrimental as well, as we all know, with all respect to them. So we must initiate new approaches, we must join forces, and we must take this opportunity with serious intentions, good faith, and to collaborate with all parties concerned to make sure it takes us to a strategic political agreement. That's all I want to say at this stage. I look forward to answering questions. Thank you.
Yes, now is my turn.
Yes.
And you want none? Yes, Reza, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you, Matthias and Fikri, for sharing your reporting with me. And I don't have many things to add to what Fikri has just said. Maybe I will just put on the table 2 or 3 things and then we open this for discussion. I would like again to welcome you and to greet Mr. Ambassadors and all of you that on Saturday morning is work. Because here, all sides.
No, only this side.
On this side.
Next time, not.
Okay. But you know that Fikri was alluding to something that is very, very dear to my heart, and I believe it is the secret for moving forward. And it is the idea of pooling assets, pooling infrastructure, pooling energy, which is exactly what happened in Europe after the Second World War, with the idea from Germany that, we have very bad relations. We cannot wait until we solve all our problems to start working together. To the contrary, if we work together, we can make first war unthinkable, and second, we can create a new era. And this is what we have today as European Union. Can we imagine a war between France and Germany? But imagine what was the situation after the Second World War. So, at our level and at our scale, the challenge is the same here. So, Fikri mentioned energy, mentioned many other challenges we are facing, and there are many, many, and those challenges become difficult to tackle because of the legacy of the past, of course. So even if we were not to have the legacy of the past, the challenges, or most of them, would be there. But maybe we could tackle them a bit easier. So, things being what they are, we need to understand that, in particular, at this moment in history, where on the Cyprus issue, we are more or less playing injustice. Imagine after 50 years after 1974, more than 60 years since intercommunal strike started, and we think that we can, think of the status quo as something to stay. It cannot be stayed. Is for no other reason, for example, people say that the community are drifting apart. And by drifting apart, it means that you create, as time goes by, less and less possibilities of how to do something together. Therefore, after all what we have tried for all the years as eventually failed, we need now, because we have this opportunity to play some inventory, to see exactly what went wrong and try this time out. We have the chance of having the appointment of Maria Angela or Fikri as personal envoy of the Secretary General. How difficult it has been to reach this moment. And we all know that the mandate, though it's the way it was drafted, is very generic, but we know that there are a lot of limitations. So, where I would like to agree with Fikri that unfortunately it's not exactly what we have in front of us. We have now, and we have Paddy, where is Paddy? Paddy with us, Paddy working with Mariangela. So it's a mandate which is not a mandate for negotiation. It's a mandate to manage and bring decides around the table. This is mainly what it is. And though the Secretary General was very cautious not to put in the mandate a time limit, we know that for Turkey, for instance, the commitment is for 6 months. So, and we all know that now there are local elections. Local elections. Here, no, the 6 months will be over just like that. So I hope that we will be able to continue after that. But yes, eventually we need to find a way to bring the sides around UK. You know, of course, this cannot be done if either side starts putting preconditions. So we know that now we are facing the fact that Mr. Qatar says, unless this and that is accepted, we will not go. By the way, this is not new. This started happening as soon as Mr. Qatar assumed power at the end of 2020. And still, we managed to go to Geneva to have this conference in Geneva in April 2021 by just managing to convince Turkey and to Turkey Mr. Qatar that, it's your right to have your position, but don't ask me or the UN to agree beforehand or to agree that, this is what we're going to do. Why do we have negotiations? So, and now, probably we need something simple. We need to be able to come around the table without the conditions. And then we will give another chance. And we have already, as Fikri was saying, have a package. We have never been as close as to a settlement as we were in Canada. If we really continue from there and we use the package proposed by the Secretary General, it's not the solution. The idea was that if we were to have a strategic agreement with these points, the 6 points proposed by the Secretary General, this would render the process irreversible. Then go on and negotiate the remaining issues, but not a single issue after that would be able to derail the process. And another point that I think Fikri alluded also to this idea of how much progress we can have and then all the convergences and this, axiom in the negotiations that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. Sometimes this is misunderstood. We need to know that this principle means that you cannot have, the final agreement before the sort of issue, which we have said. It does not mean that all the partial convergences or agreements you have reached, they are not there. They are there, they are solid. We need to consider them as very, very solid. But yes, continue working on this idea of a package until we finalize everything. And we have covered, more than 90% of the ground. And even after 2017, for instance, when we met in Berlin in 2019, the idea there was not, it was a procedural meeting to agree going back to negotiate. But in the course of the dinner there between Guterres and Facility, we were able even to sort out the 2 last remaining issues concerning governance. So we can say that we have a full agreement on that. And this will take out of the way something fundamental. And we can look also other issues because in Ghana, Shabuzo was saying that, this is as far as it can go, but if the Turkish Cypriots are happy on other issues, meaning governance, then I go back and I will ask for more flexibility. So you understand that if we were to continue from where we left, probably we would stand a good chance to achieve results. The only point on which, I think I don't see any value with my friend Fikri is when we talk about, filling the gaps arbitration. I myself am more convinced than ever. I have been in negotiations for many, many years is that in 2017 we managed to come so close and with something much better than what we had in the Anata because it was free negotiation. And Antonio Guterres refrained deliberately from going beyond good officers and assuming any other role. This is why he never submitted anything in writing. He just wrote it on tears. And gathered a dynamic around finalizing together something. So I believe he got it right. I believe this is what we need to do this time again and taking advantage of the level we have in 2000. So that's all I want to say because
I'm going to check one of these from you, and you're going to share that one. And we're going to have questions. Now, before we start, I will please ask you to be go straight to your point with your question. No talking, no thanking. We all know that we're thankful to the two speakers. Just go straight to the point and be short, so time can be given to everybody. Right, who wants to start with questions? All right, see here. I'd like to know how important you think leadership is. Because we both sides we're not very hopeful that our leaders are the same page as the team. I'm going to take all questions or? No, we'll answer one by one. Okay.
The leaders, mindful of the fact that they are members of the nationalist political line on both sides of the divide, they are the consequences of the impasse, in my opinion. Of course, leadership is absolutely vital in any process, and it's going to be a job to motivate that. In the Turkish Cypriot community, it will be more related to the position that Turkey will take after their local elections on the 31st of March. And we all know where that lies. Turkey needs to be motivated like she was prior to 2017. And in order to do this, I said in my speech, she has to gain progress in her international ambitions, as those international relations ambitions. But leadership is going to be a very, very serious challenge because one of the tasks that they will have to face is to inform their communities objectively, rather than from their own political stances, so that when the time for the referendum comes, we can expect a positive outcome simultaneously on both sides of the divide.
Certainly, leadership is an essential part in the process. And I don't want to sound very nasty, but it's a pluralism. So I want just to add that we need also not just strong leaders that they want to assume responsibility to do something, but they need to want to do something. We need vision, and we need people that are forward-looking to can really assess the world we are living in, because I have the feeling that we are fulfilling our space with
Thank you so much. I have two issues. One was leadership in your time, thank you. The second was about the youth. So, as a German professor, I can't agree more with what you said about the prospect for an example for Europe. They had leadership, but I think what we are here is also the mobilization of youth. I'm happy that the UN are undertaking a lot of actions in that direction, and I'm just wondering how to do in our own communities on this, specifically in relation also to economic situation, which is when it is worsening, it feeds the ranks of the extreme parties, then make it more difficult for this. So I would like to have your opinion on the youth. Thank you.
Youth certainly is very important dimension we are aware that first and foremost we need to understand that in the 21st century, in this century we are globalization. So if we don't open the prospects for young people, either they will see, or if they stay and they are entrenched in these kind of situations, they can be lured to phenomena like extremism, indifference, all these kind of things. So, and this is part of the responsibility of our generation to understand and open the prospects and give new wings to the younger generation, not only to fly, but to shape their own future. And shaping their own future means they are going also to claim from us particular things that have to do with the future.
The youth of today is the ruler of tomorrow. Therefore, it must be our top priority to strengthen the youth, to make sure that we bring up a youth that is in favor of unity rather than separatism. We need to review the curriculum on both sides of the division in the education system. We need to make Turkish compulsory in Greek Cypriot schools and Greek compulsory in Turkish Cypriot schools. We need to develop joint projects to them. We need to sponsor and support as generously as we can in order to develop a youth that is a yield of a united Cyprus rather than a divided one.
Thank you, Rita. Okay, she doesn't allow me to thank you, but just to continue and build on what already is told. All of us, we all know well that the process is a leader-led process. So I wonder both speakers' opinion on if there is room to redesign the modalities, as Fikri has told, or redesign the process so that we can involve the civil society on the peace process, particularly women as well, beside the youth, but not as just in a representation or something, that I mean in a real involvement, in order to ensure that not to leave everything to two leaders only on this process, because the price is very high and we all pay this price. And also about the transparency issue, because communities of both sides can easily be misled, misinformed, disinformed because of this confidentiality of the nature of the process, traditional process. Nobody really knows about the convergences. So I wonder about how we can redesign the modalities and process so that we ensure that this time the status quo, continuation of the status quo, would not be an option at the end of the process. Thank you.
The Cyprus problem is an intercommunal problem between the Turkish and Greek Cypriot communities. Therefore, the solution of the Cyprus problem must be an intercommunal solution as well. I firmly believe that if we are seeking for lasting peace and genuine democracy, and if we are going to abandon any likelihood of returning to the status quo, we must concentrate on uniting our island. The only motivation is not the Security Council resolutions. We're bound by those because they are elements of international law. However, for the sake of lasting peace, return of rights, and restoration of the Cypriot soul, the identity, okay? And for the sake of achieving an indestructible, independent state, let's face it, that must be the ultimate goal of this exercise. It must be a solution found and ratified by the two leaders. In any peace process that I have followed in recent history, no peace process reaches to a conclusive result without the participation of the civil society, and I mean all segments of the civil society. I chaired the Chamber of Commerce before my political career, and Andreas was the negotiator and he knows and remembers very well. We did our utmost together with Kevin, with our Free Cypriot Chamber of Commerce, to bring the business communities together. Likewise, all other segments of the Cypriot communities must be included in this process. Furthermore, there is no peace agreement without a time-bound frame. Okay, they need to be framed within a time-bound. That pressure has got to be exerted, but not in a negative way. Not in a negative way. In a way that the process is best utilized. In other words, we need to make sure that a phased approach, in other words, a ladder approach, is given a chance as well. Because people in Cyprus have lost their faith and their conviction in political statements. They want to see these actions put into progress and they want to experience them. Therefore, they will, I trust, they will reach the conclusion that the cost of the status quo outweighs the benefits of unification. Okay? So these are the essential amendments that I believe the modalities need to look into. And I hope if this common ground mandate is fulfilled successfully, and then we start designing the negotiation process, I will certainly do my very best in order to convince our counterparts at the United Nations to work on amending these modalities. Thank you.
I believe that we can, of course, improve the modalities and strengthen this interaction between the negotiations at the level of the leadership and then track track 2, track 3, all these things can happen. However, if we want to be, realistic, let us think more in terms. Let me tell you something. There was a say in an American movie in the early 60s. The movie was Who Killed Liberty Balance? And the say goes, when the legend becomes fact, published the legend. So, what I mean by this is that in Cyprus, this what we call confidentiality, secrecy, we prefer the process and this and that is at the end of the day a myth. It's a myth. There is nothing that is not known. I have never had the slightest reservation and in answering any question on anything concerning what we have been negotiating, concerning competences, concerning what we are turning into black, turning something into black means there is agreement because we were starting in blue sentences, my sentences. There were the red sentences or Vietnamese sentences, and an agreement was meaning that we were turning this in black, like the song going back in black. So, but this was the idea. But I mean, there is no real secret. So, which means that we shouldn't allow this to be used as an alibi, because civil society has the right to know, but needs also to assume its responsibility. They get to know. You know, myself, while I was negotiating, I think my assistant said to me that I had 475 meetings with civil society. Okay? And there was never anything that was secret. There are people here that were present in many meetings, and they know. Did I ever say, I cannot answer this question because it's secret? So, certainly, we need this interaction, but for this interaction to happen, we need also the civil society and the organization to really be more active and assume their own responsibility and not rely on the leadership and ask the leadership, can we say this? Can we? No, it's your responsibility. Just assume it. And I think also that this will help, this de facto transparency, because there are no secrets, will become, if we assume our responsibility of us, we become accountability. Because this is what we have. We have transparency, we have no accountability. We should go together. And what we have again is that the leadership, as I was saying earlier, because they are afraid to assume their responsibility, they do nothing. And there is no accountability, there are just excuses.
No thanks, but thanks. Many thanks. It's getting hungry. He has already threatened me that.
We expect you.
Yes, he's going to expect. The one question was about civil society, but we got the answer. But my question is, how do we or do you define civil society? What kind of entities include this civil society? Organization or people sitting drinking coffee, or organizations acting in the society? I wish very much to listen from you your definition, because my definition is also the political parties, the trade unions, etc., but not the individuals. It's not civil society. And maybe after that, Mr. Collin could answer us also this question. And my second question is related to the position. It's not the first time I heard about this position, about if there are no results in the process of negotiation, and then the negotiation should be oriented to something. Okay, the wish of all of us is to be oriented, to reach something. But if not, what are we going to do? Or what United Nations is going to do? Or what the Turkish Cypriots are going to do? Are we going to leave aside and be the bicommunal, bizonal federation and search for another solution? So, please, I wish to know what is this position that is very often expressed and by GDB and by other countries and countries of GDB, And also I wish to know also the position of Mr.
Also, first, for me, civil society is everything, everyone, whether individuals, groups, organizations, whatever. Civil society is all those entities and people that do not have a formal official position in. So, it's everything. On the second question, just let me tell you that this is where we have a kind of disagreement between myself and very close friends in the Turkish community. I myself, I cannot accept to discuss and formalize any repercussions of legal outcome before we start negotiation. And this is where, people can tell you on the other hand, but we need to have some assurances. Of course, we need assurances, but the assurances have to be when we all brainstorm and understand objectively what will happen, more than deciding in advance the terms of the rules.
Everyone who has been fortunate enough to stay out of politics is considered to be members of the civil society, in my opinion. As far as the second question is concerned, by a result-oriented process, we need the following this year. One, both parties must be fully committed to all the convergences reached by Crown time. There must be no room for renegotiation of any of the convergences as of Crown time. That's one. Secondly, the negotiations must be designed in such a way that they must be conclusive. In other words, a strategic political agreement must be reached, must be committed to be reached by all parties concerned. Third, in view of the fact that the status quo strengthens the impasse and actually strengthens nationalists, separatists on both sides of the divide, we must demolish, if not lift, the status quo. Therefore, this strategic political agreement, that is the target of the negotiations, must be put into implementation once it is reached. This is what result-oriented is meant by CTP. Okay? Now, negotiations, if we get to that stage, and I hope we will, negotiations must be based on the 6-point so-called defense framework, and we must not go back to anything that has already been written. Political equality and security are the two most prior issues for the Turkish Cypriots. For the Greek Cypriots, they are equally important, but for the Greek Cypriots, there are some additional important aspects which I fully respect as well in regards to governance of the federal state to be established. As far as political equality is concerned, as you're all very well aware, there are various interpretations of political equality. This is an area that I feel very strongly about, because political equality is defined in the Security Council Resolution 716, dated 1991. Okay? That's what it is. So if a leader says, I'm committed to the relevant Security Council resolutions, that particular one, defining political equality, cannot be omitted and cannot be discussed any further. Okay? If you don't want to reach the strategic political agreement, if you're not a wholehearted believer in the unification of the island, of course you can interpret it in any way you want. You can even start negotiating elements of it. But no, it is defined in a Security Council resolution. Security, very important for all Cypriots on the island, and for the guarantors as well. That, of course, is and has been one of the main negotiation chapters. The leaderships, correct me if I'm wrong, Andreas, have always agreed that security guarantees would be negotiated in the presence of the guarantors. And it started being negotiated in Switzerland. I trust that will resume in months ahead. So, result-oriented means avoidance of an open-ended process that we have lived in the past. Okay? No more open-ended processes. Process that assures conclusivity.
Thank you. Okay.
I told Rita that I'm not going to ask on the question, and she gave me the permission.
But fast.
I'm not going to have a speech, although I would love to have a speech.
I'm here.
because I really hate the only men panels. Okay?
So this
But this is a secret situation, unfortunately. We have been through this situation for decades. I'm sorry. I will be very frank. Very, very frank. Excuse me?
Oh, no, I'm showing.
All right. I will be very frank. Okay, I will question this leader-led process. I have come to a point, and I have to be very frank with all of you, that I do not trust the leaders anymore. I do not. And I cannot accept that the future of my country, the future of our people, will rely only on two men. Because always we were being led by men. Okay? All leaders, all negotiators, they were men. So this needs to change. And of course, my friend, with whom I fully agree, she mentioned civil society. So we demand really that this process will change. If it does not change, I can assure you, because I have an experience of almost a century with the Cyprus problem, we will end up in another failure, and this time around will be fatal for our country. I can see it coming. If we rely only on the leaders. If we don't put around the table representatives of civil society, women who have been absent from the negotiations. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 women on this side and on the other side. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about full, active participation and engagement of women around the table. We have not seen this over the past 50 years. So if we don't make a fundamental change in the process, and I'm talking in front of colleagues who represents the United Nations, if we don't see this time around, I'm afraid that, especially these 2 leaders, they're not going to make it happen. Thank you.
I just have a curiosity about what you said before. How different is Turkey from 2017 and today? Because it's the same government, it's the same party ruling, and how is the new European Commission, which we don't know how it will be formed. I just thought about a commission that can have a decent majority and a decent, calendar to play the reform in this process? Because apparently they have also a big important task.
I do genuinely believe that after the 31st of March, there won't be an election in Turkey for at least 3 years, unless unexpected circumstances prevail. I do believe that the foreign minister and the minister of finance of this cabinet, this new cabinet that was formed last June, they are committed to rational Western policies, Westernization of Turkey, making up with the West, with the European Union and all the countries, etc. I do believe they're committed. The biggest hindrance is this nationalist party called MHP, which they need in terms of coalition prior to elections, but I believe their influence on the ruling party, AKP, will diminish after the 31st of March. I do believe that Turkey is literally desperate to make up with the US. I do believe very strongly they have to make up geopolitically in the Eastern Mediterranean. Whilst I don't believe that full membership of the EU is on their agenda, I do have reasons to believe that they are seriously committed to the resumption of accession negotiations for the sake of customs union, modernization, liberalization of movement, as well as solidarity against this illegal migration issues and integration within the EU security mechanisms. I believe these are strong motives for the Turkish leadership, and I very much hope that a new approach will prevail after the local elections come up.
I share what Fikri said, and I also believe that there is a very slight change in the way Turkey approaches the problem. And we have seen this with the appointment of Mavroyiannis until last September. You all remember the statements that Qatar will not accept, and then what did we have? We have Sudan meeting the Secretary General and asking the Secretary General for why? Because this current juncture, Turkey does not want to assume responsibility for nothing happening on Cyprus. Does not mean that there is a change in such so far we have not seen that. There is, however, a slight window between in particular after the upcoming elections in Turkey and of March, whereas Fikri was saying, we can probably, but I guess we don't know for sure, to make census more both with the United States and with the European Union. And when it comes to the European Union, you see what we discussed in the European Union now about even yesterday about the conclusions and all these discussions about the relation with Turkey. Because we all realize that we need to do something. And bear in mind that, of course, formally we conduct accession negotiations in practice. There is nothing happening. But there are, however, 3 other tracks which are open and more open than the accession negotiations. And I think Fikri mentioned all three. One is security cooperation, and we all know that we need to stand together. And the more we're working for European strategic autonomy, the more we need to discuss with partners like Turkey. The second is, if you like, all questions of energy and these kinds of where we need to talk. And the third is the track which is really open right now, which is the modernization of the customs of Turkey with the European Union. Of course, for this last one, in order to do something, we need to overcome the fact that the lack of implementation of the Ankara Protocol entails a refusal of Cyprus to accept international modernization. Modernization, will take years. It does not happen overnight. But in order to start, you need to have in place the implementation. And if you overcome the difficulty with the Ankara Protocol, and for me, and you probably remember that this is what I was saying during the campaign, that it depends certainly on the part of Turkey, to accept, to extend the customs union to Cyprus. But this entails also, when it comes to Cyprus, of course, it will mean that ships registered in Cyprus will be able to go to Turkish province. And it would entail for me, but I didn't get a lot of support probably because people did not understand what I say. It entails that you have energy cooperation because you cannot, as implementation of the Ankara Protocol, and refuse the right of the companies to sell natural gas to Turkey. So this is how those things can work. And now, with this discussion on the modernization of the customs taking shape, I think we will face those things again. Beyond, again, as Fikri was saying, what will be necessary discussions on the legal migration, what is happening in this Mediterranean, what are the repercussions of the crisis in Gaza, all those things.
Thank you. Andrea.
I want to turn back to the question of leadership and public participation. I think that in Cyprus, for a democracy, we have a very unique system of decision, especially the Cyprus problem, which belongs only to one person. And I fully agree with Mrs. Mavroyiannis about what she said. Unless we change the position, and unless there is no one only person that takes the final decision, we can never arrive to a solution. So, irrespective of if it's women or men, certainly with men are also typing, participating, which is for the Cyprus problem. But I think that it's essential that we change, and most probably this initiative must come from the United Nations. That it's unacceptable that just one person decides for all our state.
Just a very brief comment. Not only the system, but it became worse because the constitutional system of Cyprus wasn't very interesting in the participation of the people community. So since 64, that we don't have participation of the 36 community, it became more or less a 1 month show. But this is a perversion of the constitution because the constitution does not provide for the president to have all those powers. The powers are really vested with the Council of Ministers.
The reality is that
he has all the power. And not only this, he was also you have in the mission of good office of the Secretary General, the leaders of the two communities being the main interlocutors for deciding the problem, you have even more power vested to them, and this is just a perversion, but this is the system where we're living in.
I am a very strong believer of this participatory processes as well. I believe it's an indispensable element of lasting peace. Remember, the political agreement is reached by the two leaders, but peace is established by the two communities. So, in all aspects, participation is important, and I do welcome this Congress approach since her appointment so far. All she has done is listening to all segments of the societies on both sides of the divide, as well as directorial powers. It's very important.
Okay, I have the dragon in front of me. So three short questions related to what Mr. Mavroyiannis and Mr. Andreas first, and especially my questions are towards Mr. Mavroyiannis, but you can relate. So, civil society was always present in all the efforts of solution of the Cyprus problem. My question is, do you believe that, Mr. Mavroyiannis, our political system allows the civil society to have an effect on any result of the Cyprus problem? First question. Second question. If someone, because we're talking about everybody else is blamed, if someone will ask you, compare the honesty between the Greek and the Turkish leader and the honesty of Greece and Turkey when they are at the table, at the negotiation table. And third, I would like to hear from you both, the men, how we will implement the inclusivity of the half of the population. Thank you. I was short and sweet.
So now you expect me to answer those short and sweet.
Yes. I think they are very fine. They are fine questions.
What can I say? What can I say? You know? I don't know, Fikri maybe start because I'm trying to reflect what to say. What can I say about honesty? You know, do you think?
You say that you always answer questions, so
yes,
put
okay.
your hand on it.
Okay, but I don't have the answer because, for instance, talking about the participation of the leaders of the you know, it's very difficult to know when you talk to politicians what they have behind their mind. And I came to a level where I don't care. What I want them is to do the job. And what they have in their minds, I don't want to know. Because they come 10, 20, 15 years agenda. Never know when you never what they have in their minds. So, civil society, you say that it was active. You know, what is really active? You know, the problem is that most of the time they are guided by the leadership. They are aware of some instances, in particular in the Turkish community. You remember the beginning of 2003, when there was this huge popular upheaval in the Turkish community, asking to do something, etc. And this forced, if you like, Mr. Mustache to accept the continuation of the talks. However, at the times, you know that there was at that time a slight change suggested by Alvaro de Soto, that the leaders, even if they don't agree with the plan as we finalized, they have to put it in referendum. What did we have in 2004? A plan finalized by the UN, put into referendum by the leaders, both leaders against. And this is exactly what we did now. So, it's one thing to say, of course, mobilization of civil society. It's another thing to accept, to fully associate civil society and to have entire parts of the population, working independently of the institution. And this is very, very difficult inside. So, with some exceptions, I didn't see that civil society in Cyprus has assumed fully its responsibilities. And we see very often, so many things start with civil society, and then we end up by having always the same usual suspects. 100 people from both communities gathered together on all issues, and they, they are considered by the others more or less as irrelevant. And this is a problem. We need a thriving civil society in this country.
Yes.
Okay. You have an answer, and then I can.
I just want to add a couple of sentences, perhaps. Leaders are political figures, they're elected politicians. Okay? Therefore, their biggest sensitivity is towards their voters. The voters are the members of the civil societies. If the societies are sufficiently motivated, if they are convinced that the dividend of the settlement will outweigh the cost of the state government, then politicians will go along with the society. So their role is of fundamental importance. Thank you.
I'd like to take a step back, and because at this stage we're actually looking to see whether there is common ground to move forward. And I appreciate both of you have given a very sort of positive outlook, but we have to take the reality into account that one side is saying the two-state solution, and the other side is asking to go back to ground Montana. So my question is there something more we need to do as, the Greek side, Greek Cypriot and Greeks, since we're asking to go back to something that we refused twice, more or less, that we need to do in order to convince Turkey and the Turkish Cypriots that we really do want the solution and that, we want to move forward. Because just to go back and say, we're prepared to go back to Grants Montana doesn't seem to be to have any correspondence with what the other side is asking for.
Katie, sovereign equality needs two states. You're absolutely right. But I can assure you that's not what the Turkish position is. I know you may struggle to believe me. I struggle to believe myself. But the Turkish position is not two states. The Turkish position is as follows, quite honestly. First of all, since the Annan Plan, both the Turkish Cypriots and Turkey has been confronted by a series of challenges when it came to interaction with the world. Okay? We always encountered the Cyprus issue as an impediment in front of us. Okay? And Turkey did as well. Subsequently, we did what we could, both during the Annan Plan as well as in Switzerland. But the situation remained unchanged. We still remained in the same position whereby we were confronted by serious hurdles in our relations with the rest of the world. What the Turkish position means, or what they're trying to imply, but failing miserably, is the federation to be found will have two constituent states voted. Those constituent states must be able to exercise their powers sovereignly. Therefore, in case of a failure of the federal state, the constituent states will carry on exercising their powers. That's what they mean. Okay? Another thing that they mean is that should the Greek Cypriot leader leave the negotiation table, or should the Greek Cypriot community reject an agreement that is to be found, then the status quo must not continue. In other words, Turkish Cypriots must no longer be subjected to sanctions and isolations and lack of interaction with the international community. That's what they are trying to imply, but they do not mean two-state solution, even though that's exactly what Soviet politics.
Not much. I think that, if we want to be more secure, we need to understand that, solution and mitigation are values per se. And we need to understand that this is about the future of our country. And we need to understand that there is no future without solution and mitigation. And for me, we need to stop time excuses and talking about this kind of so-called incentives which they are not really incentives. So I honestly believe that going back to the negotiating table and having the package as it was at the end of Canada is possible. And the first thing the Greek Cypriot has to do for me is to really and with clarity stick to that. Because, we say, yes, we start there, we stop, but I'm not sure whether we know exactly what we see.
Okay, Rita insisted I will be asking the last question. So, I would like to thank on behalf of Rita and me for this proactive speech and gathering. And thank you for joining. It was excellent. Thank you very much as the speaker. Of course, being last is the hardest one because everybody asked most of the questions. Unfortunately, the comments that I wanted to make, but I agree with you. I mean, we talk about convincing Turkey and Turkish side, but I think on both sides, the Annan plan and at the Grass Montana, the Greek Cypriots were the ones that left the table and
Excuse me.
sorry?
It's not true.
No, it's true.
It's not true.
Well,
you are talking to the man who was there. So please.
Okay, so I'm sorry. From outsider, as being a Turkish Cypriot community, we have that perception. Maybe we are wrong, but that perception was the one that we felt. Okay, I mean I don't know.
You know what that Greek Cypriot says. Okay.
Okay, that's how we feel. And I agree with Katie. What are we going to do if the Greek Cypriots are saying that they would like to make this agreement, but if they again leave the table? I think Turkey is ready. But my other comment is about EU, because EU is also responsible by taking one side into EU without the other.
I think, sorry.
Okay.
Cyprus has submitted its application in 1990.
Yes.
Sorry. The decision for accession was taken in 2002. We signed the accession treaty in early 2003, and you are telling me that it is failure of the Annan plan that...
No, I didn't say
what you are
that.
saying.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't say, I said that it is the fault of you to take Greek Cypriots only.
Never happened. In 98, Severis invited the Turkish Cypriots to participate in the negotiations. What did they do? Tell me.
Well, why are you getting very angry and
I'm getting angry
aggressive?
because this is not true. We cannot just.
But this is a perception.
But I mean, why did EU agree to take this accession one-sided? I'm asking EU. This is a very big fool. And we wait UN to solve this problem, which has so many shareholders. This is a big responsibility on UN. Why only UN is going to try to solve this while EU has a big mistake? According to me, there is. I am a EU citizen and I am being left out of EU without anything. And that's not what I feel.
I think what you then is meaning here is very important. The EU understands that they made a mistake by getting a divided and a conflicted country acceded to the Union, which is not in line with the founding principles and values of the European Union. But we've gone past that. It was a tragic decision. We've gone past it. Turkish Cypriots are members of the European Union family. They are citizens of the European Union. They are citizens of Cyprus, which is a full-fledged member of the European Union. Unfortunately, we're not able to benefit from the Union as other member states because we remain conflicted and divided, and democracy is at stake. Thank you.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I mean, we cannot talk about these things so like, accession of Cyprus to the European Union was the biggest challenge we have faced, and it was something that required the mobilization of everybody in this country. And the idea for us was to foster our Cypriot compartment. This big achievement as part of the new Cyprus. But content, and I don't agree, of course, at all with Fikri that it was a mistake. In 1993, there was the European Commission, which was saying that, of course, Cyprus is eligible, of course, and when the prospects for the solution of the Cyprus problem become clearer, then we can start active negotiations. And of course we reacted. And of course we said, okay, but if we do whatever we can and there is nothing, are we going to be punished? And this is how, under President Severis, we managed to have the decision of March 95 that accession negotiations for Cyprus will start later after the intergovernmental conference started in 98. And then President Severis invited to participate in this process. The idea was to have the participation of their discipline. And then 99 in Helsinki, we had the decision that the accession of Cyprus will not be dependent on the settlement of the Cyprus problem, and in exchange, the European Union offered European perspective to take. So I mean, we cannot ignore the fact not to make the 2002 decision of Copenhagen, the signing of the accession treaty. Where were the leadership of the Turkish community during all those phases? That in September 2002, Turkey was threatening us and the European Union with consequences that would be cataclysmic if we join the European Union. This is the situation. What we're talking about. That, European Union decided the day before accession to accept. What is this? A saying word for not voting. What is this? It has nothing to do with this. Sorry.
You had a great goodwill, and you put the Turkish as a language, because Turkish is an official language of Cyprus.
I put it, always. And we have asked, I persuaded Andreas, we have asked the European Union to include Turkey as a formal language of the European Union. Didn't we?
Everybody knows them. And we did this as soon as Israel indeed assumed power. 2016.
I think we've time also, our speakers. Thank you very, very much. We've got some wine and refreshments outside, and you can rest a little more.